And when we start to look at our guts, we can't not address and look at the vagus nerve, which is the big highway that goes from from our brain to our gut ultimately, and feeds all of the organs that are involved in digestion. And the vagus nerve is it's the big leveler. It's the nerve that is responsible for that switch between sympathetic and parasympathetic states of awareness. And if we are living, which most of us are, if we're living in a sympathetic state where we are in fight or flight in some way, to some extent, we are not able to digest our food. The body does not digest food when it is adrenalized and when it's in a sympathetic state. We are designed not to digest. The blood, actually physiologically, the blood flows away from the intestines towards the extremities of the body. There isn't enough circulation to properly digest and assimilate food. So physiologically, we should not be eating when we're stressed. And as the only mammals on earth that eat in a stressed state, we have to wonder why. And if we eat when we're in a stressed state, we do comfort eating, stress eating, eating on the go, eating on the run, and eating in an environment that is a stressor is not conducive to health. It's not going to allow us to digest our food ultimately. So we have to start there, I think. I think it's a place to start, is to go, am I in a condition right now to be eating? Yeah. Which is what many people eat when they're stressed. It's their most, immediate thing. It starts in childhood. It starts with babies. It's like they're given food all the time to calm them. Yeah. But are we able to absorb and assimilate food when we are stressed? No. Physiologically, no.
Wow. Okay. So that blew my mind when you said that during your presentation. It makes perfect sense. We're the only mammal that consumes food when we're stressed. It's mind-blowing, but it makes perfect sense. How can we teach ourselves to relax and to get in that parasympathetic state to better digest our food? What things can we be thinking about to bring ourselves back down into a chill mode so that we can digest our food better?
So the common things which are evidence-based, so it's not like I'm not sort of telling you to go on a yoga retreat for 3 years in the Himalayas, but breathing, conscious breathing that connects and goes beyond the diaphragm. So when we start to actually breathe into our bellies and deeper, instead of just shallow breathing, we are connecting and actually moving the gut system, the digestive system. So if you don't take a deep breath, you actually don't bring movement down all the way down your torso or your abdomen towards your bowels. So one of the great things that one can start to do is to just breathe deeply and consciously, and to take some conscious breaths before you eat. But then throughout the day, there are anything that alleviates stress is what you need to be doing. So for you, it might be going to a jiu-jitsu class. For me, it's going for a walk in nature and in the mountain, and it's doing things like yoga and meditation. Those are known, any movement and exercise is known to support stress. Some exercises less than others. So, something that is quite high intensity doesn't always support a sympathetic nervous system for somebody that's been through trauma. So there's some exercises that are more conducive, sort of like slightly lower intensity exercise range. And then many, many other things. So there are so many techniques, from somatic to meditative to everything else, that can really support the vagus system and the vagus nerve. Other things that are known to support it are things like cold water plunges, actually just putting cold water on your face. And there are a lot of techniques that activate the different points of the vagus nerve. So, we know we know the actual channel and route that the vagus nerve takes through the body. And there are many, many techniques that you can use. For me, yoga is one of the most useful because it uses the entire movement of the spine, which is ultimately the same track or kind of highway that the vagus nerve takes. So I find if I just do a couple of minutes of yoga, and in particular some things like anything that moves and twists and supports spinal movement, tends to talk to the vagus nerve and support moving into a parasympathetic state. And then there are many things like connection, intimacy, hugging, being with others. And then from an eating perspective, one of the most important things is the environment that you eat in. So if you're eating around, if you're eating on the go or driving or in public transport systems, which is what many people do, you're not going to necessarily be relaxed. but if you're eating in an environment with people that you feel connected and positive to experience, you know, have positive experiences with, that not with people that stress you out. You know, rather than eat around, like sit in silence in nature, that's a really, really good one. Eat with pets. I'm not saying like on the floor with your pets, but in the environment with animals. Anything like that is conducive towards a more assimilative experience of your digestion. And that's what we want to move towards. We want this genius mechanism that connects our, you know, the kind of external world to our interior, ultimately through a cling film width of a membrane that allows food to go to pass through a membrane into our bodies and become energy and become the life force that feeds us and takes us through this life. It's a very genius thing, and to do it in a conscious way where we are able to absorb the food is the most important thing. Yeah. So we have to look at that. We cannot ignore it and say, you know, I'm just going to eat down this protein shake on the way to the gym driving. Well, I would be surprised if you have found optimal health doing that, but maybe some people can, you know. Certainly not in my experience. So I've been able to eat them. I've eaten the perfect diet and found that my health hasn't improved because I haven't been looking at the way that my nervous system interacts with my gut and the way that my mind and body are connected and need to be fed simultaneously and in a healthy, vibrant, life-giving way.
Yeah, no, that's so good. Just to reiterate for the listener, Jayne did not tell everybody to go eat pet food with their pets. She said, have pets around, different things. Don't get confused. That's not what she said. And I've noticed
dogs.
There you go. I've noticed for myself, I could have a smaller meal kind of earlier in the afternoon when I'm between clients and things are pretty chill and not much is going on. I can have some eggs or just whatever snack. But literally, my main meal, I have to have my laptop closed for the day. I've got a hard kind of a stop in my head that it's about this time. Whatever work I got done. This is the motion that closes the laptop, and now I do feel that like bit of relax and release, and that's when I have my biggest meal. I didn't do that really consciously. It's just something that kind of got worked in, and that's got to be a huge part of it.
Absolutely. And I mean, other things are, of course, just slowing down. That's one of the most important things, is actually to chew your food. That's the number one digestive trick and aid, is to chew your food for longer and slower. And we're not doing that. People tend to be wolfing down food rather than actually enjoying the experience of eating, which is our most ancient social connector. There's so much, you know, the thing about food is there's so much attached to it, and it should be a joyful, relaxing, positive experience. So to be super stressed about what you're eating and the macros and the micros and exactly like the scientific aspects of food is useful if you are really on a very, you know, if you're diabetic and you're like really going for something super strict for a short period in time. But the ideal situation, and that's what we address quite a lot in mind body medicine, is to find a relaxed, comfortable, healthy relationship to the food that you're eating. So that is, you know, to be well is to be healthy, it's to be balanced, it's to be joyful in your experience of the way that you prepare food and connect to food. So that is, of course, that's ideally either growing or rearing your own food if you can, or at least being connected in some way to the food that you eat. And rather than this kind of modern world that we live in where we just everything's packaged and we just kind of totally disassociated. So we're seeing children that you know, we know that Ronald McDonald has a higher brand recall than Santa Claus or Father Christmas in the world globally, for example. Wow. So more children know him. You know, that's where we're at. It's like the children don't recognize vegetables anymore because they've never seen a vegetable and cut it themselves. And we are disconnected in ways that are disserving of our humanity and our origin. And the microbiome is, of course, you know, it's made of bacteria and fungi and things that are very, very ancient. And it requires a connection to nature and to the actual physical earth, which is where the microbiome comes from, is the actual earth and the sort of earth or the biome of our mothers at birth, ideally. You know, and if we're so disconnected, we're eating in very sanitized environments where food is no longer actually showing vibrancy or presence of the kind of bacteria that we require to survive and to reach health.